Good evening, Rain Nation. Blake Milan here. Thanks for jumping on our science webinar. We're in for a special treat from Dr. Jeff Wright of the Utah Valley Health Clinic, who's going to talk to us about core. Jeff has been a longtime advocate of Rain products, and actually one of the things I love most about Dr. Wright is that he came kicking and screaming into the network marketing industry as an individual who was not a fan, especially of the industry's products. He fell in love with Soul and has since fallen in love with all of the Rain products, and is a big advocate and always giving Rain Soul and Rain Core to his patients. And he's going to get into why and what he sees that these products have done for a lot of people. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wright. Thanks, everyone.
So I wanted to talk to you about the core of health. I'm not going to talk to you about any specific products, but if you want to make some correlations with things you've seen, you're certainly welcome to. Now, I want to tell you right up front, I'm a parent, and you might think, I would tell you that I'm kind of a mean parent. You see, I make my kids work. Thank you. And I make them work in the garden so they can get their hands dirty. I told you I was mean. So what I have them do is I go out and have them plant the plants so that they can enjoy them. We plant all kinds of things like tomatoes and cucumbers and squash and lettuce and green beans, and then I make them eat them. Like I said, I'm a mean dad. Well, this fall we have a plan to plant some fruit trees. And this little munchkin, he's decided that he wants to plant those seeds. In fact, he's already planted the seeds. In his plan for the plants, he wants to plant some strawberry trees and some raspberry trees and a blackberry tree, because we've got some blackberry bushes across the street, so he wants a blackberry tree. He also wants a frozen pineapple chunk tree, and he also wants a vitamin tree. So he's got it all planned out. In fact, like I said, he's already planted the seeds. So he told me a joke last week. He said, how are people and apples alike? They both have cores. I thought, perfect for my speech next week. Thank you, Zach. This is my 5-year-old. He's my youngest. So the body's core, can you all see this? Goes from here to here. And it basically is from the tube that goes from the inside all the way down from what you eat to what you excrete. Now, you might think that the brain is the core of the body. Well, the brain's not really the core of the body. It's more of the electrical power plant. It's kind of the director of everything. It's very important. You might think that your heart is the core of your body. But your heart is more of a pipe system or a road system, something that transports things from point A to point B. The core is more of your manufacturing and your processing plant. It gets materials in, it makes the product, it transports vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fats in enzyme trucks that go from someplace to another. And it gets it all packaged. Now, your core is truly the essential part of keeping your body healthy. That's why it's your core. Now, it will detoxify and replenish your muscular system, and your nervous system, and your lymphatic system, and your immune system, and maybe even your solar system. Well, maybe not your solar system. But it is a nice manufacturing plant and processing plant. So let's talk about how we can get the right materials into your manufacturing plant. The first thing is eat the best quality superfoods you can get. Now, you probably all want some examples of that. This one, black cumin, you've probably heard of. Latin is Nigella sativa, is one of the oldest cultivating plants in civilization on record. It's pretty amazing stuff. The Egyptians used it. They used it for things like headaches, toothaches, belly aches. It also boosts the production of bone marrow. It helps improve immune system function. It's anti-inflammatory. It actually provides good parent essential oils, which our body can use. Has other good healthy oils in it as well. It's also antimicrobial, and it's even been shown to help and be effective in pancreatic cancer. And just as a nice side note, it helps with blood sugar and cholesterol. Another superfood you've probably heard of, milk thistle. Milk thistle is still one of my favorite plants. Why? Because it's a liver protector. Now, the liver is this really cool organ right across here up at the top of your core that actually helps you deal with everything that happens on a daily basis that might be toxic. Now, one of the flavonoids in milk thistle is called silymarin. And silymarin actually protects the liver by increasing glutathione. It also acts as a nice anti-inflammatory. Another superfood, cranberry. Now, I've used cranberry for a long time. I've used it for a lot of urinary tract infections and a lot of other interesting things. But it turns out cranberry has some other really nice uses. For example, it's packed with vitamin C. It's packed with A, E, and K. It has tocotrienols and tocotrienols, which help with heart health. It has phytosterols. It has a good ratio of essential fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6s. So these seeds offer a whole bunch of complete nutrition all packaged into a really small space. And they help to make the body work better. Now, interestingly enough, if you process them properly, because you can eat them, but you have to process them in your mouth. But if you eat them, if you want the whole seed because it has the hull of the seed. If it's broken, you actually get the fiber from it. And then if it's processed appropriately, then there won't be any oxygen in there to destroy the essential fatty acids. So cold pressed will give you a good form it will actually give you the fiber and the essential oils and fats so your body can use them and actually help to utilize them in your core. Now, let's get to some other foods. Kale, the original superfood. We love kale at my house. This stuff's really easy to grow. It's tasty to eat. We throw it in green smoothies. We even make kale chips out of it. We don't eat potato chips. We eat kale chips. Basically, you sprinkle with olive oil and salt, throw it in the oven, and bake it. My kids will devour that. If they hear that we're having kale chips for dinner, or at least as part of the dinner, they will devour them. Kale also delivers fiber and sulfur, which help with digestion and help with liver function. Also, it helps with absorption and with blood sugar. Another superfood you might have heard of, wheatgrass. Lots of chlorophyll and no gluten to boot for those of us that are sensitive to gluten. It also has enzymes and minerals and vitamins because it's harvested from the grass or the sprout as opposed to from the plant itself. Another superfood, spirulina. Spirulina is a blue-green algae that is a ton of protein and has lipid-soluble vitamins in it. It also has things like calcium, magnesium, potassium, and iron, B vitamins, and other antioxidants. Chlorella is another algae which is lipid-soluble, has other more lipid-soluble vitamins like vitamin A and E. It also has choline and other minerals in it. So these nutrient-dense foods, these green ones, well, they're good for you. And they taste kind of green, but that's okay because your body loves them. So moving on to some other things, these actually help to nourish you and also give your body some fiber so your core works a little bit better. Now there's some herbs that I think are also pretty powerful that you should probably know about. There's dandelion, another one of my favorite herbs. Dandelion's pretty much good for almost everything that ails you. It's also got fiber. It's good from the top down. It's good. The leaf and the root also are good for actually have iron in them. And aloe vera is something that people have been using. It's good for burns. It's also good for things like cuts. But on the inside, it actually helps your intestinal tract to work better. So that's what happens when you first see or smell food. Digestion starts in your mouth, actually. It doesn't start in your stomach. How many people were there last night? Raise your hand so I can see y'all. Did anybody have anything tasty? Raise your hand. So when you saw those tasty foods or when you smelled those tasty foods, what happened in your mouth? It started to water. Digestion actually starts when you see and smell food because your mouth starts to water. And when it starts to water, it's ready to moisten that food that you just ate so that you can swallow it a little bit better. But also in that water is digestive enzymes, amylase, that helps you to start digesting carbohydrates so that you can further digest them downstream. Now, enzymes also help to activate things, and they also help to buffer and bring the pH of the food up a little bit closer to where it needs to be so you can digest it. Now, these two things, we have already talked about them a little bit, black cumin and cranberry, they actually help promote good, healthy bacteria in your mouth. And cranberry, with its proanthocyanidins, I think you just heard that word from Dr. Bell, it actually helps to prevent the bacteria from binding and sticking to your teeth. Now, dandelion, a bitter herb, actually helps you to salivate more and works further down the digestive tract to help you digest things a little bit better. These two things, kale and wheatgrass, and the other green things that we've talked about, actually have chlorophyll in them. And chlorophyll is a very nourishing thing, but chlorophyll has another interesting side effect. It protects people from something else that's really a plague on society, bad breath. So you also have teeth in your mouth. Hopefully you all have teeth. Teeth are really useful things because they break those big pieces of food that you just ate. Hopefully you chewed it well, like 31 times. But when you chew your food, you actually break it up and you mix it with saliva some more so that it can be properly digested in the rest of the digestive tract. If you don't chew your food, it makes it kind of difficult for you to digest your food. So where does it go? It goes down the throat into your stomach. Now the stomach has a couple of different things that need to happen. The first one is your stomach makes stomach acid. Now if your stomach makes stomach acid, it must be there for a reason. It also makes digestive enzymes. The acid is actually there to activate and break down the protein so you can digest it. Stomach acid is also there to help to activate the trace minerals so that you can put them where they need to go. In fact, the trace minerals cannot be absorbed properly if they've not been activated by stomach acid. Your stomach also makes digestive enzymes to help you to absorb the rest of your nutrients. Now, acid is kind of bad. How many people have ever had heartburn? My first experience with heartburn was very, very uncomfortable. And I realized, wow, now I understand what people who've had heartburn have. Now I understand why they want to take some antacids. Actually, the heartburn is from some other problems. But the acid is actually really important for your body so that you can digest food. So your body has a built-in defense mechanism to protect it from this bad stuff called acid, or from this amazing stuff called acid. It's called mucopolysaccharides, or glycosamine glycans. We'll call those GAGs for short. It's a gel-like layer that helps to protect your stomach. So, remember I said dandelion actually helps with digestion? Specifically, it actually stimulates the parietal cells in the stomach to make more stomach acid. Aloe vera has been used historically for the treatment of stomach ulcers. Black cumin seed, aloe vera, and adequate drinking water actually helps with the promotion of more of the GAGs, which are the glycosamine glycans. In other words, those help you to make more of the stomach acid protector, or that gel layer that protects you from the stomach acid. Now it's interesting that the seeds, black cumin and cranberry, actually help with local infection. A common local infection in the stomach is a thing called a Helicobacter pylori, or H. pylori for short. It's a nasty infection that lives in those GAGs and causes ulcers. And so the standard treatment for that is this triple therapy, which is 3 antibiotics. Well, they actually studied black cumin and found that it was as effective as triple therapy for treatment of H. pylori. Cranberry actually helps with the stickiness so that the H. pylori has a harder time sticking to the wall. So both of them have an antimicrobial-like effect in the stomach. So while your stomach's breaking down food, you've got other things going on. You've got your liver and your pancreas. And the liver, wow, we could talk all day on the liver. The liver is an amazing organ. The liver, in fact, is my favorite organ. Liver has a couple of jobs. Number one, its job is to filter the blood. So everything that goes from the intestinal tract and gets absorbed through the intestinal wall goes straight to the liver so that it can be processed and detoxified. The liver is also a manufacturing plant. The liver actually builds proteins in the blood, and it also helps to build immune complexes and cholesterol, and it helps to activate and metabolize or process fatty acids and amino acids. In fact, anytime your doctor runs a blood test, chances are he's measuring stuff that was made from the liver. The liver is also a storage facility. It actually helps to store vitamins. It stores vitamin A, D, and vitamin B12. And incidentally, the deficiency of B12 called pernicious anemia was found to be cured by eating animal liver. That happened at the beginning of last century. Now, all of these things that the liver does, that sounds a little bit hard to swallow, saying, wow, it filters blood, manufactures and processes things, and stores vitamins and detoxifies the blood. If you were to simply say, your liver is your body's chemistry lab, that pretty much covers everything. So think of it as a chemistry lab, not as a filter. So let's look at stuff that works for the liver. Now in my office, and my kids all know that your liver loves green stuff. And the body loves green stuff. So when you put green stuff in, especially leafy green stuff like dandelion leaf and kale and wheatgrass, your body you're putting something in that's very dense in vitamins and minerals. These raw leafy greens are especially good because they're rich in folate. And folate was found to cure a disease called macrocytic anemia. In fact, the word folate comes from the Latin root folium, which means leaf. So anytime you see a green leafy thing, you know that you're going to get your folate from that. Now it needs to be raw, because as soon as you cook it, you kill the folate. Milk thistle. The #1 plant for helping the liver to function better is milk thistle. Stuff's amazing. It's one of my personal favorites. Why? Because the milk thistle actually protects the liver from cell damage. It enhances glutathione, which is a major detoxifying enzyme. It helps you to improve your cholesterol. It helps as an antioxidant. It's anti-inflammatory in type 2 diabetics. It improves bile flow and helps to inhibit or modulate estrogen receptors. Second one, another one, black cumin. We've all talked about that a little bit. Black cumin actually induces NRF2 or NRF2, which is an enzyme, which is a genetic anti-inflammatory that helps your body to modulate inflammation. It also helps to protect the liver from lipid peroxidation. Dandelion, hepatoprotective, protects the liver. It protects against acetaminophen toxicity. It's a choleretic, which means it improves bile flow. It's anti-inflammatory. It's antioxidant. It actually is anti-hyperglycemic, which means it helps to keep the blood sugar from going too high. It's an anticoagulant, and, well, it's everywhere. Pretty much if you have a yard, you probably have dandelions in it. Dandelion and milk thistle together actually help the liver to process things more, because they both help the liver to make more bile, which helps the body to excrete more toxins. And when all that bile makes it into the large intestine, the two algae, the green algae, the chlorella and spirulina, actually will then bind to those toxins so that they can fully get excreted. Now, the pancreas and the liver are doing their job while the stomach is doing its job. The pancreas has two primary functions. It makes enzymes to help you break down all that food that you just ate into the atomic level, into its little bitty bits, the amino acids and fatty acids. And it also makes hormones like insulin, which helps us to manage our body's blood sugar. And the hormones help the body it tells the body what to do. Black cumin actually has favorable effects on insulin secretion and glucose absorption, and also helps to improve glycemic index. All these words mean that it helps with blood sugar control. So if you have a diabetes problem, black cumin is on your list. That is really on your list of things that's really helpful. Dandelion also helps to improve and has been shown to metabolize and lower blood sugar in people who are hyperglycemic and in people who were type 2 diabetic. Aloe vera has been shown to help metabolize and lower blood sugar in people who are hyperglycemic as well. Oh, and now another thing about dandelion, it actually helps the liver to metabolize hormones. So the next stop on the tour of the core is to the small intestine. Now it's interesting, the small intestine kind of receives everything. It is the place where the stomach contents goes to. It's where the liver and the pancreas contents go to it, and so that they can all mix together. Now this is where most of the absorption of all the nutrients happens. So this is where you absorb your protein, this is where you absorb your fat, this is where you absorb your carbohydrates. They've been broken down into simple sugars. So in order to do that, you have to have a lot of surface area. And so your small intestine is about 22 feet long in the average American, or in the average human adult. That's pretty long to fit into this small area called the core. But in order to absorb all that food, it has to have a really high surface area. So the small intestine has folds in it, and then those folds have finger-like projections called villi, and on those villi there's micro finger-like projections called, well, microvilli. And so when you look at this absorptive surface in that 22 feet long tube, you basically have about 2,700 square feet of surface area so that you can digest and absorb all those nutrients. That, just to put that into perspective, into regular speak, 2,700 square feet is about the size of a tennis court. So if we're to say this half of the room, it's about that much surface area in every single one of our intestinal tracts. Now, you might have all heard about good flora is good for you. If anybody turns on the TV, you'll probably see a commercial that says that Activia is good for you, or this yogurt or that yogurt is really good for you. It's because we also have healthy or unhealthy intestinal bacteria. And there's actually quite a lot of intestinal bacteria living in our guts. In fact, It's estimated we have something like 100 trillion organisms in our intestinal tract. Now, just to put that into context, that's a 1 with 14 zeros behind it. Just to put that into context, if you were to take that number of bacteria and compare it to the number of cells we actually have in our body, it's about 10 times more bacterial cells to one of our own human cells. So there is a lot. And so with all those bacteria, your body has to deal with that. And with all that digestion going on, your body has to deal with that. So we have this thing called the enteric nervous system. It's where about half of your nervous system lives. It helps to control that digestion so that you can get nutrients in. This is, again, why it's called the core, because if you don't get food in, the rest of the body's not going to do very well. Also, with all that digestion and all those bacteria, you need to be able to decide what's good for you and what's not. And so you've got a lot of an immune system going on there. The immune system, about 70% of the immune system actually lives in the intestinal tract as well. They call that the GALT and the MALT, meaning GALT is gut-associated lymphoid tissue, meaning there's a cell of the immune system that lives around the intestinal tract, and MALT is mucosal-associated lymphoid tissue. You can see why I call it MALT and GALT. It's easier to say. But those are the white cells, those are the immune system that live in and around the intestinal tract so that you can decide what is good for you and what is not good for you. And these things actually signal the rest of the body on what to do. So it's very important. So that microflora, crucial to health. Now, wouldn't it be good to support that microflora with things? So let's talk about now we've talked about the anatomy and the structure and what's actually happening in the small intestine. Let's look at what it does. It digests. It absorbs. It helps with acid balance because all that acid coming from the stomach has to be neutralized. That happens in the small intestine. You've got your immunity. You've got GALT and MALT, and you've got the flora. So how can you actually package these things like on the conveyor belt so that you can digest and absorb them? Well, the small intestine massages it so it can get really well mixed up so you can digest it. The kale, the wheatgrass, and the dandelion actually help to improve the liver flow, and they also have fiber so that the intestinal tract can exercise. In fact, fiber is like exercise for your gut muscles. Spirulina and chlorella are loaded with protein, fats, and vitamins, which actually nourish the body. They give you more of those nutrients when you eat them. And they also help to absorb toxins that the liver's dumped so that you can make sure that you actually excrete it. Because if you don't excrete it, your body will reabsorb it. It's kind of efficient that way. Black cumin seed, black raspberry, or black cumin, cranberry, and milk thistle have an anti-inflammatory effect on the body and have a systemic effect in the body. Now, black cumin also enhances immune reactions so that your body can stop fighting itself. So if you want to enhance an immune reaction, it actually helps you to stop fighting itself, which would be eczema and asthma and things like potentially autoimmune diseases, and fight more on being able to fight germs and bacteria and viruses efficiently. Aloe vera is very soothing, helps with the absorption, and also all of these things put together actually encourage healthy gut flora and also nourish the body, which is why they're so perfect for the core of the body. Now, the large intestine, after it leaves the small intestine, it goes to the large intestine. The large intestine is named for its diameter, not its length. And when you take care of the large intestine, it's designed to be able to absorb everything else. So everything that the small intestine absorbs is things like the protein and the fats and carbs. The large intestine is tasked with digesting and absorbing the water and the minerals, and is also designed to compact all the waste so that you can properly excrete it. Now, if you have the right kind of food and you give the right kind of nutrients to the large intestine, it can translate into other nice things, nice effects. For example, it can translate into losing inches around your waist. It can translate into less bloating. It also translates into maybe shedding some extra water weight. Now, wheatgrass juice is actually rich in trace minerals, so the body will start to absorb those trace minerals here. It also has been used successfully in assisting the treatment of ulcerative colitis. Spirulina helps to improve accumulated waste removal. It actually helps to bind to it. Dandelion root and leaf. Dandelion actually has a compound in it called inulin, which ferments in the colon, which doesn't sound very good, but when it ferments there, it actually improves the colonic bacteria. Cranberry, when relating to colon cancer, and cancer is a whole other conversation, but cranberry actually has these things in them called anthocyanidins and proanthocyanidins. You might have just heard about them, which actually act as antioxidants, but not only, and the antioxidants, the proanthocyanidins actually help to improve programmed cell death or apoptosis, but also has anthocyanins, which block enzymes which are known to promote cancer. And it also has another compound that is an anti-proliferative, which is cytotoxic, meaning it kills cancer cells, to cancer cells. So this is a nice thing that helps to reduce the risk of a cancer and improve treatment with other cancer treatments. Aloe vera is extremely soothing and also inhibits oxidative damage in ulcerative colitis. So the body's core, if it gets backed up, it's going to cause your world of hurt. Bad digestion, bad absorption, toxin buildup. It can influence your body and create a bad immune response. It can change your mood. It can make you break out with skin stuff. It can make your lungs more inflamed and have you more likely to have lung problems. It can affect your bones and joints and make you more likely to be arthritic. Maybe not the wear and tear arthritis per se, but it can make you more achy and have pain. If your core is backed up, it's going to create immune system difficulties where you're more likely to be inflamed. And if your core is backed up, it's going to mess with your hormones. Guys, it's going to mess with your testosterone. Girls, it's just going to mess with you from top to bottom. And so it's best to have that core functioning well. And as you have that core functioning well, you can have better health. So that's why we're here, isn't it? Just to have better health. So my wife decided she wanted to start exercising, just to finish up. She wanted to start exercising, and she wanted a workout buddy. So I volunteered. I said, hey, I'm the perfect workout buddy. And because I like lifting weights, and I like, running until my legs are mush, and I like to sweat. You can see me sweating now, but that's because of lights. And so she put in a beginner DVD. And so we started doing basic core exercises. Little tiny crunches, puny core stretches. I had to keep my navel back towards my spine. And after 15 minutes, I wasn't glowing. I was dripping. I was sweating buckets. And I felt like I was going to die. And the reason is because all the workouts that I'd been doing weren't focusing on the core. And I realized that I hadn't been focusing on the most important part of our physical bodies. And so I learned 2 lessons. Number 1, don't trust your wife when she says she wants an exercise buddy. And number 2, you want to strengthen and nourish your core. So thank you all for your time.
All right, everyone. Thank you again to Dr. Wright for doing our science webinar tonight. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll have another one next week, so we'll talk to you then. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.